How's that for a gobble? Happy
Really
Thanksgiving
good.
week, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Breakdown. I'm your host, Wayne Cavati, and there's all sorts of mayhem that we got to get to. So we're going to just jump right in. I'm going to welcome back the two best co-hosts in fantasy football. Dutton, how are you?
I'm good. Saudi Arabia beat Argentina. How the hell did that happen? Oh, wait, we're talking about the other football. Sorry.
Right, right. Fee, welcome back. How are you?
Great. Looking forward to Thanksgiving. We got one more day here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot to talk about this week. No fancy introduction needed. Let's jump into it. More shocking, gentlemen. Melvin Gordon or Darrell Henderson? Which one is more surprising? Dutton, you.
Melvin Gordon, because the Rams are just a team that's basically decided to pack it in for the year. So let's just cut our losses while we can. The Broncos have an outside chance to make the playoffs, I would think. But I mean, very slim. They did lose to the Raiders on Sunday, but I don't know. They're both shocking. I don't know. At this point in the year, I don't trust anything that's happened anymore in the NFL. It's all bizarre. It's upside down.
Fee, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know really. I'm shocked for sure.
Both
Uh,
are surprising, right?
so they're definitely both shocking. Um, I I I can't say that the Melvin Gordon one is shocking because of how much he fumbles and sucks. Um, the Darrell Henderson one, I mean, he wasn't doing anything anyway, so
But why wasn't he doing anything, right? Wasn't Cam Akers the guy that they were trying to trade just 2 weeks ago, and then they get Cam Akers back, so they dropped Darrell Henderson? Like that
yeah,
one,
I don't know. Darrell Henderson was the guy for such a long
he was the
time.
starter, right? Yeah, he
Well,
was the
yeah,
starter.
especially while
Yeah,
Akers was out, and
telling
like
you,
he
the
was doing
Rams are
fine.
packing up shop. They're closing it up.
Well,
We'll talk
I
about.
mean, that's for sure. I mean, the Rams are done. I got a
Um,
tickle, bro. It's not going away.
but the Melvin Gordon one's weird too because they traded for Chase Edmonds. Chase Edmonds looks like he has a high ankle sprain after what, like 5 plays. He five downs he played for the Broncos, and now he has a high ankle sprain, and it looks like he's out. So you cut Melvin Gordon, you make a 32-year-old Latavius Murray your lead back, and you bring up Marlon Mack, who's been cut by 3 teams this year. So you rather go with Marlon Mack, who couldn't stick with the Houston Texans, right? Or the Indianapolis Colts, or the Dolphins, or I forget, I can't even remember the other team he went to. And you want to make him over Melvin Gordon, who granted has fumble issues, but at least knows your offense, which we can make the argument nobody knows their offense because Hazlitt gave up play calling to a Kubiak, and you know how I feel about a Kubiak calling plays. It can't get any. He can only get worse when Kubiak is calling plays.
Yeah, listen, I think the bottom line for both of these teams is they're both disasters.
Yeah,
And
I
so
think,
no
yeah,
matter what they do, isn't really necessarily going to matter. And so while shocking, yes, from real life, I mean, I don't think it really
and
matters.
then to your point, that's the thing, right? It doesn't elevate anyone in fantasy. It's
No,
not like anyone's going to be like, "Oh, I got to go get Latavius Murray."
nope.
It's not like anyone's going to be like, "Oh, I want." I mean, I know the Kyron Williams guy on the Rams. Everyone's like a high on, but you're not going to start him. Maybe you'll go pick him up and stash him this week, but you're not like, "Oh, I got to get him in my lineup," right? Like it's the weirdest thing ever. It did nothing for either team, and it did nothing for fantasy. But they are two relatively, I don't want to say big names, but they were rostered names, right? They were rostered players. It's
Oh
very
yeah.
weird. It's very weird. So yeah, those were two of the more surprising moves. As we mentioned, Josh McDaniel proved he's not the worst coach in the NFL by probably beating a guy that will get him fired for losing to Josh McDaniel, and that's Hazlitt, who is that team's a mess. The Broncos are a mess. It's great. Because Russ, the Seahawks did everything right there. But let's jump in. We'll get more into that later. Let's jump into first down. It's time for buy it or bullshit. Okay, after watching Travis Kelce on Sunday night, is it too early? Or I'm sorry, let me ask this in the buy it or BS form. Fee to you first. It's not too early to put Travis Kelce in the greatest of all time tight end conversation. Fee.
Yeah, I'm buying it. He is absolutely up there I mean, who is the greatest tight end? Tony Gonzalez? Is
I
that
mean, that would be the guy that
fair
I
to say?
probably, yeah.
I mean, Travis Kelce is right there. I mean, he's cut from the same cloth, and
Yeah.
he is pretty much unstoppable at this point in his career, and has been for quite some time. And there's really no signs of him slowing down at all. So if he stays with the Chiefs and he stays with Mahomes, like there's no telling, where he'll finish his career. So he's got to be in the conversation for greatest of all time for sure.
Dutton.
It's too late to have the conversation because he's in. Yeah, like it's yeah. I mean, hold on. I have it right here. Kellen Winslow is number 5. Shannon Sharp is number 4. Rob Gronkowski is number 3. Antonio Gates is number 2, and Tony Gonzalez is number 1. Those are the top 5 tight ends of all time, and I would easily say Travis Kelce is just as good or better than all of them. So yes.
So like
It's
his
too
streak
late.
of 1,000-yard seasons is crazy, right?
Right.
But that's the thing. Technically speaking, he doesn't. I don't know about all 5 of those guys, but I know Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates. He doesn't have their yards yet. He doesn't have their touchdowns yet. But I think if the guy retires today, he's the best tight end to ever play, right?
I mean, the argument that we should be making is if you put Travis Kelce on another team, is he this good? That's an interesting question, right? I think it's the perfect alignment of a quarterback and a tight end who gelled together, blossomed at the right time, and just know each other. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like Gronkowski and Brady, but I think Kelsey's better than Gronk. Like,
Kelsey's better than Gronk.
so yeah, like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that he could retire today and he's kind of atop the conversation, but he doesn't, right? He has plenty of years left.
Right.
Because the reason he has plenty of years left takes us to the next question. Is Patrick Mahomes the unquestioned MVP of 2022? Dutton, buy it or BS, Mahomes is the MVP of 2022 right now.
I don't want to BS it and I don't want to buy it. Can I put it on layaway? Because I don't think it's unquestioned. I mean, it's not unquestioned, but he is the front runner right now, right? I mean, there's still 6 games left to be played.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in those 6 games, but if you're voting today, you're voting for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So I would say he's the leader in the clubhouse after Saturday. If you're looking at this as a golf tournament, we're about 3/4 of the way through the season. So
there
you have it.
Yeah, so I think that he is, and I'm buying it because no one else comes to mind when I was thinking about this question,
except Davis Mills.
No, not Davis Mills. I was thinking about, first of all, when you're talking about MVP, you got to think about quarterbacks, right? Because the last 10 in a row have been quarterbacks. So I was thinking about receivers and running backs, and no one really stands out as having like some ridiculous season that would put them in the MVP conversation. So then you think about, well, what other quarterbacks are there? And again, no one really is standing out to me other than maybe Tua. And I find it hard to believe that he would even be in the MVP conversation. So because I can't think of anybody else that's really kind of putting their mark on this season, Mahomes is the only one. The Chiefs are 8-2 currently, right? And there are other teams that are very good. The Vikings, come to mind. Who else has a really good record right now?
The Eagles.
Jalen Hurts, maybe.
Yeah, but again, so Jalen Hurts doesn't stand out to me as an MVP candidate, and neither does Kirk Cousins for that matter.
No.
So you're talking about 2 really good teams, one with 1 loss, one with 2, and 2 with 2 losses, and the only one that really can make a case to me is Mahomes. So I think that right now, I think he is the unquestioned MVP currently.
Yeah, I mean, you know what you're going to get out of him. It doesn't matter the defense that plays him. It doesn't matter the day of the week. The guy is he's money. He's so good. Let's move on to the next question. 2 concussions in the same week. Have we seen the last of Matthew Stafford? And I am not talking about this season. Is this the last we've ever seen of Matthew Stafford? Buy it or BS Fee?
Uh, when you put the stipulation of ever, I want to say BS. This season, yes, I think he's done for the year. I think there's no reason for him to come back, especially after having 2 straight concussions. I think if he shuts it down now, he'll have a whole year plus to kind of get back to possibly, being the starter again and furthering his career a little bit. He's what, 34 years old, I believe.
Somewhere around there.
So he's not like astronomically old in quarterback years.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so it's really just a matter of, how, he won the Super Bowl. Does he want to shut it down and just call it a career? I mean, he could. This year, I think he's done for this year for sure. For his whole career, I don't know. I feel like he's got more left in the tank, but who knows?
Okay. Yes, he is 34. I looked it up. Exactly 34. Dutton.
Buying it, lock, stock, and barrel. I texted you both on Sunday after he went off the field that his wife will not let him play another game. I'm buying it. I think it's going to be the impact of the Tom Brady Giselle effect, where she's going to say, look, that's why Giselle wanted Tom to retire. You're going to retire. You've won a Super Bowl. I'm telling you, he's out. He's done. It's over
First
for him.
of all, that's not why Giselle wanted Tom to retire.
Yes,
Nope. She wanted Tom to retire so she didn't have to take care of the kids anymore. So
regardless of that, we're not talking about Tom. We're talking about Matthew Stafford.
Two completely different scenarios.
But
Trust me.
You said he comes back to further his career. The only thing he really doesn't have is an MVP, right? He's close to I don't know if he's top 10, but in passing yards and passing touchdowns, he's near if he's not top 10, he's probably like 11 or 12. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but he's right there, right? He's got over 50,000 yards. He's got over 300 touchdowns. He's got his Super Bowl ring. He even, I'm pretty sure he won the comeback player of the year. Remember when he got hurt early in his career, and then he was like one of the first guys to have the 5,000 yard years when everyone started going off for 5,000 yards. So
right, what you're saying is he's got nothing left to play.
Unless he thinks the only thing that he would have to play for is if he thinks him being under center next year with the Rams team in place is a Super Bowl winner. And do you think that?
No.
Right. So what does he have to further his career at this point? That's the question.
I guess nothing.
So,
I guess it stands to reason that he should just call it quits.
I mean, 2 concussions in a week, that's bad. Normally I'm not, his arm is all busted all year. Like, we can't deny that, right? He didn't have his Matthew Stafford arm. The guy's got a cannon. He didn't have that. Has nothing to do with 2 concussions in a week, right? And if you remember the first one, it didn't even happen in the game. He started acting weird in practice 2 days later. They're like, we think you got a concussion, dude. Like it's kind of weird to me. Like, I don't know. I think this might be the end.
I think he's done.
I do. I think this is the last we see of Matthew Stafford, and that sucks if that's the way he goes out. That would really suck. Moving on. Dutton, buy it or BS. Cowboys are best off admitting that it is now officially the Tony Pollard show.
I mean, yeah, I'm buying it. I mean, Zeke is the short yardage back, change of pace back to slow the game down. Tony Pollard is the explosive. Yeah, the Cowboys should be starting Tony Pollard, and it's his game. And Zeke will see less carries than Tony Pollard.
Fake.
Yeah, so I don't know that they need to admit anything because the reality is it's already obvious that it's already the Tony Pollard show. He's getting more of the touches, more of the volume. Zeke, he gets his fair share and it's almost split, but Pollard is clearly the more effective running back. He's getting tons of work in the passing game, and it's clear that he's the better running back. And I know that the Cowboys will never admit to that, especially because of how much money they're paying Zeke. I don't know how many years he's got left on his contract, but I think whenever it's up and over, I think he'll be done as well.
Yeah. So just to your point, though, this is why I asked the question. Last week, Tony Pollard had 15 rushing attempts. How many do you think Zeke had?
8.
12.
15. So
Wow.
it's very much it's a dead even split, as you said. But this was before the injury anyway. Tony Pollard obviously had 4 more targets in the passing game, but that was the way that was anyway. But when it comes to rushing, the Cowboys are still, it is a dead even split. It was 15-15. Now, they both left the game by the fourth quarter. How would that have ended up if it was a competitive game? We don't know. So that's kind of where I was asking the question.
So they're keeping each other fresh.
They are,
and they're splitting them up and keeping them nice and fresh, and strong legs for both of them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's no question Tony Pollard is the guy there now. Fee, buy it or BS. Lions win their 4th in a row and stun the Bills on Turkey Day. What do you think?
Bill, BS. No,
BS.
not happening. The Lions, they exposed the Giants, and that's fine. I think we all knew that the Giants kind of weren't really that great of a team, as much as their record had shown. And the Lions are a decent team. However, the Bills are the Bills, and they are not going to lose a 3rd in a row.
Dutton.
100% no. The Bills benefit from the fact that they've taken up residency in Detroit, so they haven't had to worry about travel. They'll actually get to practice this week. They were where they needed to be. They didn't even practice for 3 or 4 days last week. They eked out a win against the Browns. The Bills need this game. They have to win to keep pace with the Chiefs and hope that the Chiefs lose again somewhere.
And the Dolphins. They need to worry about their own division before they worry about the Chiefs.
That is true. So, yeah, I don't think they win. And I have to say that anyway because I live with the Bills. So.
But let me give you a little hint. The Dolphins aren't losing this week because they're playing the Houston Texans. So it's very important the Bills win, and that's why I'm going to tell you they're going to lose. Right here on the show, you're both wrong. 45-42 Lions win on Thanksgiving, and then someone gets the turducken in honor of John Madden because I think they're celebrating John Madden this week on the
except that game is the Cowboys game on Fox.
Oh, that's the one they're celebrating. Okay, well, someone else get some sort of gobbler award.
Yeah, nope, no chance.
45-42. You heard it here first.
Nope.
Not a buy it or BS question, but I will ask the question: who is the worst quarterback, Zach Wilson or Davis Mills? I see your answers and I do agree with you. But the problem that you're both wrong is these guys were obviously fillers because I see you wrote down Baker Mayfield and PJ Walker, but they were there just holding the spot for the great Sam Darnold. So the Panthers should be back on track this week with the great sensational Sam Darnold under center. So who do we think is the worst quarterback in the NFL, Zach Wilson or Davis Mills? Because those are both the starters, whereas Mayfield and PJ Walker were kind of like.
Well, if you go by rankings, Baker Mayfield is ranked the 33rd quarterback in the NFL, and PJ Walker is ranked 7 spots above him at 26. So that should tell you something. And Zach Wilson and Davis Mills are not as bad as you think they are on that list. But I see where you're going with this. If you're making us answer,
Zach Wilson is horrendous, and Davis Mills.
Making me answer between these two, it's Zach Wilson.
Davis Mills is really close because Zach Wilson hasn't shown anything. Davis Mills did, and he has taken a tremendous step backwards. His efficiency is down, his accuracy is down. It's just been very, very disappointing this year. But yeah, and here's the one stat, right? If we're talking about quarterbacks that aren't playing up to their potential, Russell Wilson, I don't know if you guys saw this, has 2 more touchdown passes than Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco hasn't played since week 2, guys. And Russell Wilson in week 11 has 2 more touchdown passes to him.
Well, I'll give you another crazy stat. Bailey Zappi is ranked ahead of Baker Mayfield. And so is Mac Jones. Okay, go ahead.
No, that I don't have any more stats, but it's in a league that's built around the quarterback. I feel like we're seeing some of the worst quarterback play in a long time.
I thought Baker Mayfield was better than that. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, didn't you think it was kind of Cleveland holding him back, and then he comes somewhere else, and it's just like, no, man, you're bad.
Yeah, I'm
He's
kind of
bad.
surprised that how bad he is. I thought he had something, but clearly I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean we all were. So was longtime listener Anthony, who drafted Baker Mayfield, said he was starting him in the first game, which I believe he did start him, and Baker Mayfield had a good first game, and everyone's like, "Oh, Baker!" And then he was Baker from there on out. All right, well that wraps up Buy It or BS. We're gonna jump into locks of the week. I'll start because I already. Oh wait, who did we pick last? Oh, we pushed last week. That's right. We picked the Bears at the Falcons. The Bears were getting 3, and the final score is 27-24 on a game-winning field goal by Koo. So we literally pushed at the last second. But hey, if you followed us, you didn't lose money, and not losing money is a win in my book. I don't know about you guys. So let's move on to this week, and I'm going to stick with my bold prediction I made earlier. 42-45 means the Lions cover. The Lions are getting 9.5 currently. Remember, this is Tuesday night this week because we are coming at you a night earlier with the Thanksgiving slate. The Lions are getting 9.5. The Bills aren't blowing anybody out right now. Even if you guys are right, the Bills win this game. It's by a touchdown. And the Lions are 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 home games. I just like the way the formula is going. 9.5 is too much for a team that's won 3 in a row at home on a game that we've discussed the last 3 years and have called it the Lions Super Bowl. Thanksgiving is the Lions Super Bowl, and this is certainly worthy of it this year. I think the Lions cover. That's my lock of the week. Dutton. Are you
You're
on
on
mute?
mute.
You're on
Hey,
mute.
hold on. Sorry.
Hey, he's back. Oh, no, he's back.
There we go. Sorry.
Hey.
Sorry. Chargers -3.5 at the Cardinals. The Cardinals are not a good team,
No.
and they're terrible. And yeah, the Chargers at least have a chance, again, an outside chance to make the playoffs, but they have a better chance than the Cardinals of doing anything. So I'm going with the Chargers.
I think 3.5 is way too low. I mean, I guess they're on the road and that's why, but
They're on the road. That's why. Yep.
yeah. Fake.
I'm taking the Eagles -6.5 against Green Bay. I know that the last 2 weeks Philly has not looked very good, but they are still a top-notch team with a top-notch defense, and I think that they get it done and cover this 6.5 against Green Bay.
All they gotta do is win by a touchdown and they're good. So yeah. Who do we want to lock in? I like the Chargers out of all these 3. I like all 3. I'll say that, but I kind of like the Chargers.
I do like all 3, but I like the Chargers as well.
I mean, we could always plug in the
Chargers
Lions for
it is.
like Thanksgiving because we are the fantasy football breakdown and we do like the Lions. But if Chargers seem like the safe play. Okay, so we're gonna go on to Fanduel Fees stacks of the week. Let's get rolling and jump right in.
All right. So I'm gonna start us off. I really like Jimmy Garoppolo this week against the Saints. He is priced down at 6,800, and I'm not entirely sure why. Although actually, I mean maybe a little bit because the game that was a Sunday night game.
Yeah.
So the salaries come out the next day, so they didn't have time to change it, and he had such a great game on Sunday night. But that's not the real reason. Jimmy G has
Played last night, Monday night.
Oh, Monday night, right.
Right.
So Jimmy G has gotten 23 points, fantasy points or more in 7 of his last 8 games. So that is extraordinarily consistent.
Mhm.
Now, last night he was Monday night. Yeah, it was last night. He was insane and he went off for like 37 or something like that.
Right.
I'm not expecting those kind of numbers, but when you get a consistent 23 to 25 points every week, especially with a 6,800 salary, it's hard to ignore. And I really like that salary, and I wouldn't mind taking him to save salary and lock in those 23 points. You can stack him with either Deebo Samuel, I like at 6,900, or you can even play Christian McCaffrey, who's priced up at 9,200, but could be worthwhile because he runs the ball and catches the ball out of the backfield so much and so well for them. My second stack is Justin Herbert. He is priced at 7,900. They're playing the Cardinals. Dutton just spoke about how bad the Cardinals were or are. You can stack him with either Keenan Allen at 7,300 or Justin Palmer. He's at 6,800. Palmer has looked really good the last 2 to 3 weeks with the wide receiver injuries that the Chargers have had recently. I don't know if Mike Williams will be back this coming week. Keenan Allen, I think, played this past week.
Yeah, he did well. He had like a 95-yard
right.
drop.
And Palmer still put up big numbers,
Uh-huh.
even with Keenan Allen back. So I wouldn't mind taking Justin Herbert this week and stacking him with his receivers. A third stack that I like this week, Geno Smith against the Raiders. And we all know how much we love the Raiders on this podcast. Geno is priced at 7,600, which is a couple $100 less than Justin Herbert. You could stack him with Tyler Lockett, who has been wildly consistent. He's at 7,400, or you can stack him with Kenneth Walker, who's been really, really good. But he's priced way up at 8,400. So you're kind of taking a bit of a risk there. A couple of one-offs I like. Rashad White, I like for Tampa Bay. If Leonard Fournette is still slightly injured, that could be a nice play. Cleveland's run defense is not very good. He's priced at 6,400. I really like Antonio Gibson this week against Atlanta. I also like Robinson too, because they kind of both use them the same way that Dallas uses their running backs. But so you could kind of go either way. But I like Gibson this week because he's priced at 6,100. I think Robinson is up near the 7K mark. And then I like Waddle this week for Miami playing Houston. He's at 8,100. And I like him a little bit better than Tyreek Hill because of the cost savings, because Tyreek Hill is priced up at 9,400, I believe it is. So you're going to save $1,300 and still get a solid wide receiver in Waddle.
Yeah. All right. Fanduel Fee. Open your Fanduel app. I'm going to put you on the spot right here.
Oh boy. Hold on.
I'll give you a second.
All right. It's open. What am I looking for?
Ready?
Yes.
Just because you didn't give it to us. What is your Thanksgiving Day stack special?
Ooh, I gotta bring it up. Hold on.
You got some good teams out there. You got the Bills at Detroit, which should be a shootout. Giants and the Cowboys should have some fantasy goodness. And Patriots at the Vikings.
Thursday only. Buffalo, Detroit, Giants, Dallas, New England, Vikings. Yeah. Okay. So it's Josh Allen and it's not close, and you spend up for the 9,500 and you just go with it, because Dak, I'm not sold on at 8,000. Daniel Jones, forget it. Cousins against the Patriots defense, I don't really like that very much. Jared Goff, while Detroit has been playing well, Goff has not been doing very well, especially stats wise.
Yeah.
So and against the Bills D, I know you really like Detroit, but I just can't do it. And Mac Jones, forget it. So it's Josh Allen or bust. So if you're gonna play Josh Allen, you're gonna stack him with Stephon Diggs. He's priced up at 9,300. Or you could play Gabe Davis at 7,200, who I also like, especially against Detroit's D, going against their lesser corners. And you could bring back with Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7,600 if you really like Detroit to keep it close, which I think they will. And so that would be probably a good stack. Josh Allen with one of his receivers or two, and then a bring back with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like that. I could dig that.
Nice. You could digs it.
Yeah, I could digs it. And then a couple of one-offs I'll give you, because I really like Tony Pollard against the Giants, and Ramondre Stevenson would be a really good play against the Vikings too. So there are a couple guys that I like this week for Thanksgiving Day slate.
Nice work. I put you on the spot and you came through in the clutch. All right, so let's move on to the red zone, and we're moving on to starts of the week. We're not even going to go over last week. Last week was just one of the weirdest weeks in fantasy. I felt like we got to the fourth quarter of the 1:00 games and nothing had happened. Like there was no fantasy stats going on. There were I'm in 3 leagues, and all 3 leagues had a lot of like 105 to 100-point games, very low scoring weeks. And it was just, there was no good starts last week unless you had Tony Pollard or Jamal Williams or someone like that. It was a really, really weird week. So let's just move on to this week. Let's wipe the slate clean. We got 3 full days, right? 2 full days and Monday Night Football. 2 full days of football, though, with Thursday, 3 games on Thursday and all day Sunday. So let's just jump into it. Dunton, we'll start with you at quarterback. Starts of the week. Dunton, go.
I'm starting Lamar Jackson against the Jaguars.
Jaguars. Are you starting him at quarterback or running back? Because he can't.
I'm starting him at both. No, I'm starting him at running back. He'll probably have a lot of rushing yards. The Jaguars defense is, I mean, we thought they're better than they were last year, but that bar was so low that doesn't make them good. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, at the end of the day, Lamar's playing for a contract, and he hasn't been playing very well lately, but I think he gets on some sort of a right track this week against the woeful Jaguars.
There's something to point out that I forgot to mention. There are no buys this week. Buys resume next week. So we got a full deck of cards to play with here. So Dutton picked Lamar and Fee is picking
Jimmy Garoppolo, because I just spoke about him in Fanduel and how he's been so consistent playing against the Saints. I think you got to start him this week.
And I'm going to go with someone you mentioned as well, and I'm going to take Geno Smith. The Raiders are allowing a league worst 23.6 points to the quarterback in fantasy. They've also have a 17 touchdown to 3 interception ratio. This team is not picking off anybody. Geno had, it might have been his last game or the game before, that he did have that game where he threw a couple picks, but he's been very accurate this year. He's been very good, and I think he just shreds the Raiders. Who do we want to lock in?
I like Jimmy G.
I like Jimmy G. I like the consistency that you spoke about, so let's lock him in. Well, Fee, we'll start with you at running back.
All right. I'm going with Rachaad White playing against Cleveland. They are the second worst defense to play against running backs, fantasy wise.
Dutton.
Uh-oh. I think we lost
Naheem Hines. All of a sudden, Devin Singletary showed up. He's become a threat inside the red zone, especially inside the 5. And the Lions defense, we've talked about it. It's not very good at stopping anybody. And if Fiamano and I write about this game, Devin Singletary will see a lot of carries late in the game to increase his stats.
Yeah, and Singletary's good in the pass game too. So against the Lions, that's pretty good. I'm going to tell you Jeff Wilson. I think Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert are probably both okay to start if you have to, because the Texans can't. What did you say last week? You can't stop a paper bag blowing on the street.
Can't fight their way out of a paper bag.
Yeah, the Texans have the next guy the Texans rush defense stop will be the first. So Jeff Wilson, fire away on all cylinders. I think all 3 of these are good starts. So I don't
Jeff Wilson start. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to pick against the Texans, but they can't stop anybody. So Jeff Wilson has looked good as a Dolphin. We'll go on the wide receivers, and I'll start it off. The Steelers, this one's kind of just a simple rationale behind it. The Steelers are the worst wide receiver fantasy to wide receivers. They allow quite a bit of points, over 20. Michael Pittman and Matt Ryan kind of look like they're on the same page again. The Colts look like they're actually playing for Jeff Saturday, which is funny because I thought they were trying to throw away their season, but they actually look like they're playing for Jeff Saturday. So I think Pittman has a pretty good week. It's a Monday Night Football game. Maybe we get something special.
Saturday on Monday.
It's Saturday on Monday. Dutton.
I'm starting Tyler Lockett against the Raiders for everything you said about Geno Smith against the Raiders. So
I was actually going to tell you just to start every Seahawk this week, but I decided to mix it up. So
right.
Fee.
I am starting my man Terry McLaurin because I want to start Terry McLaurin whenever I have the chance. And this week they are playing the Atlanta Falcons, who are the second worst defense to wide receivers in fantasy points allowed.
Yeah. I like all 3 of these guys. We could go Terry Mack for Fee.
We haven't talked about him in a while.
Yeah, let's go Terry Mack for a fee this year. This week. Dutton, tight end. Start with you.
George Kittle against the Saints because we're starting Jimmy G, and George Kittle actually looks like he's George Kittle again. So start
Yeah,
George Kittle.
he's fool's gold to me. He's just not consistent, but it's probably a good spot. Fee.
I want to start Juwan Johnson this week. He, in the last 3 games, he's had 13, 13, and 12 fantasy points. And he's had a touchdown in each game. So he's getting kind of consistent looks ish. But with the tight end position the way it is, I feel like Juwan Johnson's almost like an automatic start this for people this week.
He was actually going to be my start of the week, but then I read this thing that scared me because, as you guys know, what I feel about Tim Tebow Jr. They said they're not utilizing Taysom Hill correctly. They said they want to start using him more, and I really like Juwan Johnson. He's obviously a huge red zone target. Andy Dalton trusts him. And I think he is a good start, but it just scares me that this week going against the 49ers, that we could see Taysom Hill rob everybody of the fantasy goodness that they need on the Saints. Steal touchdowns from Kamara, take the 1-yard touchdown from Kamara, and then roll out on a pass at tight end and take the 1-yard touchdown away from Juwan Johnson. But I do like Johnson. I think everything you said about him is true, but that's what made me hesitant. I'm going to say Foster Moreau. Against the Seahawks. The Seahawks are the worst against the tight end. They haven't allowed the most touchdowns, but they have allowed the most points per game to the tight end. I also think like his name should be like something else, like Finister Moreau. Like it just sounds like Foster. Like Moreau sounds so dignified. Who do we want to lock in? All three of these are question markish for me because I don't trust anyone on the Raiders, but I kind of made a stretch because if you don't say Travis Kelce, everybody's kind of a gamble.
Let's go with Juwan Johnson.
What'd you say?
Let's go with Juwan Johnson because then we have 2 guys in that game. That's my only rationale.
Oh, I see. We could go Juwan Johnson.
And then it'll make us hate Taysom Hill even more.
Yeah, that's yeah. I fantasy hate him again. I think he's probably just a wonderful gentleman outside of fantasy, but all that guy does is take away points from relevant.
Right. Fantasy wise.
So
and he's a really good football player.
Gadget. So reviewing Jimmy G at quarterback, Jeff Wilson at running back, Terry Mack at wide receiver, and Juwan Johnson at tight end. Let's move on to sits. Dutton, I'm surprised at yours. Go ahead.
I'm sitting Tom Brady against the Browns because it's going to be cold in Cleveland, and I know Tom Brady's coming from New England, but the Bucs, I don't know. I just don't trust them. They're a fool's gold team, like a lot of teams are this year, and as bad as the Browns are, their defense isn't terrible. That offensive line is going to get eaten up by Myles Garrett, so I don't know if Tom Brady's going to have a lot of time to throw the ball, and he doesn't do well without a lot of time to throw the ball, so that's what I'm worried about. I'm sitting Tom Brady.
Well, okay. I got a stipulation here. I would like to sit Kyler Murray if he plays against the Chargers. If he sits, as he has been the last couple of weeks, I want to sit Ryan Tannehill against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay. Yeah, Kyler Murray stinks. That whole offense stinks. If all you do is throw to especially since Zach Ertz went down and Marquise Brown, they haven't even taken off the IR yet. I mean, they have nobody except DeAndre Hopkins. You mentioned the Pats D earlier. I'm going to tell you to sit Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins looked awful against a good defense last week. Awful. And the Pats defense has allowed 12 touchdown passes to quarterbacks, but they've also forced 11 interceptions, which is second best in the NFL. So I just think the Pats make his life a nightmare on Thanksgiving night. What do we think, guys?
I'm okay sitting.
I like the Kirk Cousins sit. That's just my opinion.
I'm okay sitting Brady. The Browns are a run funnel defense.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good with Brady if we want to put him Brady down. Yeah.
All right.
I feel like we put Cousins too many times, so let's mix it up a little bit and put Brady. Running back. Fee, we'll start with you.
I am sitting Alvin Kamara for all the reasons you just spoke about with Taysom Hill and everything else. Um, I also wrote down Cam Akers here because the Rams are just terrible.
That and I really do think Kyron Williams it's about to become his show. I think that's why they dropped Darrell Henderson just to get him more carries and see really what they got with him. Dutton.
I'm sitting Delvin Cook against the Patriots because the Patriots defense is lock, stock, barrel solid. I mean, they scored
They are.
3 points offensively last week and still won a game. Granted, it was against the Jets, but their defense is, yeah, I'm sitting Delvin Cook.
Yeah, their offense is a mess, but their defense is amazing. I'm going to tell you to sit Joe Mixon. First of all, Tennessee's defense is the third best fantasy defense against running backs, but I just don't like starting a running back that plows into the middle of piles coming off a concussion, and we don't even know that he's going to have a concussion, that he's going to pass concussion protocol, I should say. And before he even went out, Samar J. Perine had a touchdown score, right? Like they were just looking to him, and we talked about it earlier. It's not all Mixon's fault. I just don't understand the game planning. And obviously, leaving the game early with a concussion didn't help anything last week. So, but I would advise to sit him against the Tennessee Titans defense anyway. So, what are we thinking? I'm good with sitting Kamara. I think a lot of people have to start him, but I do agree with you for a lot of reasons. First of all, the 49ers are ridiculously good right now. And I think Taysom Hill steals a couple 1-yard touchdowns in this game.
Alvin Kamara, you're on the bench.
All right, I wanted to stir up a debate. Is this the week I'll start at wide receiver because I'm going to sit him? He's got to come back to earth against the Eagles. Christian Watson, right? There's no way this guy has 2 more touchdowns this week. He has 5 touchdowns in 2 weeks after dropping 35 passes. I don't know if that's accurate, but after dropping a bunch of passes in the first 10 weeks of the season, all of a sudden this guy is Jerry Rice. I don't think the Eagles are the team that he can keep that streak going. We already said that we think the Eagles win that game. So I'm going to tell you to sit Christian Watson. I'm all ears. What do you guys think about that? You guys think I'm nuts, or do you think that this guy has found the secret recipe with Aaron Rodgers?
I don't think you're nuts. I don't think 2 touchdowns is, yeah. I mean, 2 touchdowns is hard. I mean, I still think he gets 80 yards and possibly a touchdown. So, I don't know. So, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. He's definitely coming back to earth.
Yeah. Against the Eagles, at least. Fee, how about you? Who's your sit?
I'm sitting DJ Moore against the Broncos defense. The Broncos defense is third best in the league in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. And oh, by the way, his quarterback is Sam Darnold.
The Sam Darnold.
Sorry.
DJ Moore, you're on the bench.
Is that like the Ohio State University?
Yeah, but worse.
Right.
Dutton, wide receiver.
I was sitting Amon St. Brown against the Bills because everything I said before, I think the Bills, this is almost like, I don't want to say it's a home game for the Bills, but they're in a comfortable position. Their defense is solid. They need to win. I think their front 4 get pressure on Jared Goff, and he's going to become Jared Goff like we remember him.
So. Possible. Who do we want to sit? I mean, it's got to be DJ Moore. There's no reason you got to sit every Panther at this point.
Right.
We'll go to tight end. Fee, we'll start with you because I think I need to start him in one of my leagues this week. I want to hear your rationale. Go ahead.
All right, I'm sitting Evan Ingram. He's coming back. Did he play last week? I think
they had a bye. They had a bye.
Oh,
he left the game. Yeah, he left the game hurt 2 weeks before with the back, and then he had a bye.
Right. So he's sort of coming back off of injury. They're playing the Ravens defense, who is very good against the tight end. And I'm just not a believer in the Jacksonville offense right now. And Christian Kirk is back as well.
Yeah.
So he's gonna soak up a lot of those targets from Trevor Lawrence. So I'm just not big on Evan Ingram this week. If you have to start him, you got to start him. But
yeah, Dutton.
I'm sitting the guy you wanted to start in Foster Moreau because you said it. The Raiders are the Raiders, and I don't think they're going to play well against the Seahawks. They just won a game, which means they're destined to lose the next 4 in a row. So
That's a
Sitting
fair
cost.
assessment. It's definitely a fair assessment. I said they all came with question marks. Every one of our tight ends.
Right. Yeah, you did. So
I'm going to tell you to sit Cole Kmet. I don't know what to believe in the QB situation. The Jets defense has been very good. They haven't allowed, we're what, 12 weeks into the season. They haven't allowed a touchdown to the tight end. And I don't care who's under center. That's impressive right there. Their defense has been very good. It's very young. It's very opportunistic, especially Justin Fields has a dislocated shoulder. I know it's not his throwing shoulder, but I mean, it's going to affect the way that kind of quarterback plays. I just don't think it's. And I've been high on Cole Kmet the last 3 weeks. Obviously, I think this is the week you sit him. Who do we want to lock in? I don't want to lock in Evan Ingram because I really think I have to start him this week on my one
I'll
team.
sit Komet. I'll sit
yeah,
Komet.
yeah, let's say commit.
Okay. So we got reviewing our sits: Brady at quarterback, Kamara running back, DJ Moore at wide receiver, and Cole Kmet at tight end. We got a lot of football this week. We got a lot of football in 2 days. Hopefully you all have a good Thanksgiving. We're thankful that our tens and tens of listeners continue to listen, and we really have a good time bringing you the show. So we hope you are thankful that we keep doing this every week. Because most of the time we're all ready for bed, to be honest with you, but we're gonna keep going. Gentlemen, you have anything to say before we log off for the week?
Yeah, just thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. And don't forget, you get double football. You get the world's version of football and then our football on Thanksgiving.
But you only do fantasy with us on the real football. Yeah, I
There
said
you
real.
go.
Have a good Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.